All right, I said I was going to pick up the next day. Well, that turned out to be a lie, an unintentional one. Got really busy at work. Been getting home late in the afternoon. It's getting dark early this time of year. It's been like 3 days. This has been sitting here for like 3 days. Look how it's separated, though. We've got the layer of rust down here on the bottom, and then we've got a layer of blue. I think we're starting to dissolve copper. Okay, the real question though is, are we dissolving any silver yet? So let me get a pipette and we will test this stuff and see if we're dissolving any silver yet. All right, just like I did before, we're going to test this liquid and see if we've got any silver going into solution yet. All right, so again, I've got some tap water with a little splash of hydrochloric acid in it. We should see a cloud. And we don't see a cloud. Look at that. It's a little blue, but it's perfectly clear blue. So we are not dissolving silver yet. The silver is still on the bottom of this beaker somewhere, which is a little bit frustrating, but on the other hand, that's good. That means I can pour off this blue stuff, I can pour off this brown stuff, and rinse the solids left in the bottom of this beaker, and we can get back to extracting with a whole lot cleaner stuff in here and hopefully wind up with some pretty clean silver in solution. So I'm really thinking, I've been wasting a lot of my homemade nitric acid here on this. I really should have went with poor man's nitric in the beginning, especially for the early stages. It would have worked just fine, I'm sure. Poor man's nitric is sulfuric acid and a nitrate salt. It would have worked great, and it would have saved me a lot of nitric acid. So, anyway, too late to worry about spilled nitric acid now. So let me dump this stuff off, and I'll give the remains in the bottom of the beaker a few rinses to get it reasonably clean. Rinse it with distilled water. And then we'll get it back in here, and we will do another extraction on it. And eventually, we're going to get to the silver. I believe we will. All right, so let me get this cleaned up. All right, so here's what we're looking at after dumping off that blue and brown liquid that was in there, the two layers, and giving this a couple rinses. That is a whole lot less coppery looking. That's great. I'm not foolish enough to believe that it got all the copper out of it, but it looks a whole lot less coppery than it did after the last time I cleaned it up. So I think we're getting close to being able to dissolve the silver out of this. I think the next round is going to dissolve the silver out for sure. All right, so one more time, and hopefully third time is the charm on this, but you know what? I was very encouraged to see that blue liquid in this when I came out here, because that tells me we're dissolving the copper finally. And everything more reactive than the copper should be in solution before the copper goes in. I'll show you what I mean in a minute after we get this started. So, let's see here. Fire up the fume hood first thing, because we're going to make some fumes here, probably. Everything's good and cold, so... Ooh, yeah, we are using up a lot of my homemade nitric acid. Definitely thinking I should use poor man's nitric next time I do this until we get to this stage. But that's why I only did half the tantalum capacitors I had, actually a little less than half. If you remember back at the beginning of episode 1, I weighed them out and said, you know what, that's a lot of tantalum capacitors. I've had a lot of issues, so maybe I should only do part of it. And I can learn from this and fix my mistakes. And yeah, so when I do the rest of them, it will be with poor man's nitric up to this point. So we'll let this heat up, and we should start seeing a reaction. There is some bubbling going on, but it's pretty slow and minor, but I'm sure that will speed up as it heats up. But let me show you what I'm talking about with, I'm glad to see that the copper is going in solution. So here's our old friend that we've looked at many times in previous videos, reactivity series of metals. And basically the higher up the list you get, the more vigorous the reaction. When we first started out, even stone cold, when I first put nitric on it, the reaction got really, really vigorous. And just got really, really intense and vigorous and hot. And then we got all the iron in solution. I'm sure there was some tin in there and maybe some lead from the solder that was used. But we really didn't see much evidence of that. That probably wasn't much. And by the time we get further down here, the reactions are a lot less energetic. Okay, we're at least starting to get the copper in solution. Hopefully we've got most of it in. But I'm sure there's still some more in there. And then after the copper's done, well, I don't think there's any mercury in there, so it's going to be silver. That will be the next thing to go in solution. So we're at least down this far. That's what that blue liquid tells me. That was the blue of copper nitrate. So, yeah, we are getting there. This third round of nitric acid should hopefully get us through the copper and at least start dissolving the silver, if not completely dissolve the silver. So I think we'll be done fairly shortly. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the fume hood now that it's had a chance to warm up a little bit. See if we've got any kind of reaction going yet. Oh yeah, we're starting to get some faster bubbling going on. I mean, it's just barely had a chance to warm up. It's only been a couple minutes. So as this warms up further, I expect that bubbling to get more vigorous. I expect to start seeing some orange fumes in there. And the liquid will probably turn blue again from whatever copper is still in solution in there. That's what I'm expecting to happen. So let's just let it cook, see if my prediction is accurate. Oh yeah, now we're cooking. Check that out. Had a chance to really warm up. Oh yeah, liquid's starting to get a little blue. Yep, and look at all the fumes being produced. So we definitely got some metal going into solution. Like I said, the remainder of the copper, but hopefully we'll at least start getting the silver into solution with this addition of acid. I might just keep adding acid at this point until all the metal is in solution, and then we'll recover the silver from whatever we got here. I'm usually recovering silver from a blue liquid, so I'm used to that. Just not the nasty brown diarrhea. That would be too difficult to do. Okay, so everything's going good. We're just going to let it cook. And as usual, it's getting late in the afternoon. I didn't start this till I got home from work. It was already late. So I'll let this go for the rest of the day, and we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Well, it's been about another hour. It's almost sunset. I came out here, there wasn't much of a reaction going on. I put another little shot of nitric acid in there off camera. We're not really getting much of a reaction out of it. There may be more boiling going on than actually bubbling from reaction. I'm not certain. But the reaction does look like it's coming to an end. Let's try our test again. Alright? Got some more tap water with a little bit of hydrochloric acid in it. Let's get a bit of this liquid. Yeah, it's a little bit turbid. So maybe that won't matter for the test. We'll see. Let's zoom in a little bit here. See what happens. Oh yeah. Look at that. That's what I was expecting when there's silver in there. Yeah, we're getting a nice opaque white cloud in there. So, okay, we're finally dissolving the silver. Great. So there might still be a little bit of a reaction going on in there, so I'm going to leave this going for at least the next couple hours before I shut it down, just to try to make sure, hopefully, all of that silver in there does go into solution. So that's my plan. And after I shut it down, I'm just going to leave it sit till tomorrow, when I hopefully will have some time to deal with it after work. So see you then. All right, this liquid's had a chance to cool down. I think I can just gravity filter it because it's pretty darn clear. I mean, a lot of stuff has been washed out of this already. Yeah, I'm sure there's some particulates in there that are going to clog the filter, but I'm careful. And I try to get the clear liquid through first. I think we'll do okay with just a gravity filtration. Of course, here comes the crud. I think I'll let the crud settle a little bit and then pour some more of the liquid in. It's coming through reasonably clear. You can always filter it a second time. If it's cloudy, I'll just run it back through the same filter again. And a lot of the pores in the filter will have been plugged and it'll come through much clearer the second time around. That's an old trick. You can also just put a little cotton, stuff a little cotton in the bottom of your funnel there and filter it that way too. But it's coming through reasonably clear. It's going to take a while to get all this filtered. So let me get it filtered and then we'll see if we can recover our silver from this stuff. All right, well, that stuff's filtering through over there. I'm going to do one more extraction on this stuff just to make sure it got all the silver out of it. I don't know that it went to completion. So in goes a little bit more distilled water. Not a whole lot this time. Just cover the debris on the bottom. Fume hood on. Goes a little bit of nitric acid. Not going to use a whole lot because I doubt there's a whole lot of metal left in there. Put some heat to it. And lit it up. And we'll see if we get any kind of further reaction. I'll test it, see if there's any silver left in it after it reacts. And if so, I will add that to the stuff that's filtering over there. And we'll see if we can get all the silver out of these tantalum capacitors. Don't want to leave any behind. Okay, let that warm up and see if anything happens. Might be starting to get a little bit of a reaction as this stuff warms up. So maybe we don't have all the silver dissolved out of it yet. So yeah, I think we're definitely starting to get a reaction. So, okay. This is probably a good idea, just to make sure I get all the silver out. So we'll just let it cook until it doesn't look like there's any more reaction. And we'll see how much silver is left in this stuff. Alright, this stuff has had a chance to cool down and it's separated out. The reaction actually did produce a little bit of fumes, but it didn't last too long. But it did look like it was putting some metal in solution. So there might be a little bit of... oops, let me get some clean stuff here. Might be a little bit of silver left over, even in spite of my rinses. But let's give it a check here. Oh yeah, there's really... So I don't know what was going in solution, but it wasn't silver. There's just very, very faint cloud there, which might just be residual stuff I didn't get all rinsed out of the debris in here. And it's interesting, it's gone yellow when it's gone into the liquid here with the muriatic acid. So, not sure what we put into solution, but I don't think it was silver. I'm not going to mix this with the silver because there's very little of it in there. And I was going to wind up polluting it with something else. So, I think I will just discard whatever's left in this beaker over here. And we will concentrate on the liquid that I've already got off and filtered. And see if we can get some good clean silver out of that without polluting it with whatever's in here. All right, so let me clean up my mess here in the fume hood, and we will work on getting the silver back. Time to recover our silver from this stuff. Now, I got a couple issues with it. First off, it's cloudy. I have filtered this 3 times. Full disclosure, off camera, I've filtered this 3 times. And whatever's in there is going right through my best filters. I don't know what it is. It's very, very fine, and the cloudiness just remains. And this is sat overnight, and it hasn't settled out. So whatever it is super fine. It's being held in the liquid column by Brownian motion alone, whatever it is. So I don't know what it might be. Second issue I have with it is the color. It's green. It's green. Anybody who knows where that's from, extra credit. So copper nitrate is blue. So this should be blue. Now the last extraction I did on the remains in the beaker did come up with something yellow. So we might have got whatever that yellow stuff is in here too before. And of course, yellow and blue makes green. I'm sure you all know where that comes from. So that's probably why we're green instead of blue. Now, I don't know what that yellow stuff was, but apparently we are contaminated with it here. I don't know that it's going to make any difference. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, it's time to try and get our silver out of here. A couple different possible methods. I could add salt or muriatic acid to it and bring the silver out as silver chloride. And then use the salt and sugar method to get my silver back. I actually like that method. I think it produces the purest silver. But I'm very strapped for time, and that is a very time-intense method. There's a lot of rinsing that goes on. And it goes on, and it goes on, and it goes on. So, yeah, very time-intense. I'm strapped for time today. I've got a lot of the stuff I need to do. So, how are we going to get our silver out? I think I'm just going to stick a coil of copper in there and let the copper cement the silver out. We're not going to get as pure silver as I would like, but I have already a big stash of cement silver that I've used this method on, and someday I'm going to purify it somehow. Maybe I'll build a silver cell. We'll see. People keep telling me I need to build a silver cell, so maybe we'll do that in the future. But for now, I think I'm just going to put this coil of copper in here and let the cementation process happen. Now, I think I need my workbench for another project today. And I think I'm going to set this up somewhere else so that I can put a camera on it and we can get a time lapse, hopefully, of the process. So let me figure out where I can set this up where it's not going to get bumped, jiggled, shaken, stirred, whatever. And we'll get started. Alrighty, so let's see if we can catch a time lapse of this. I'm going to put the copper coil in. Now, I would not be surprised if there's some residual nitric acid in there, and it's going to take a while probably. Well, maybe. I don't know. We might have silver growing on that already. I think it's making me a liar. I think I've got silver growing on that copper wire already. Instantly, yes, I see little shiny silver crystals on there. All right, so hopefully we'll get a good time lapse of it as I just let it go for the next few hours. Oh, yeah. The silver is coming out of solution really quickly. All right, so we'll just let it go and see what it looks like in a few hours. Oh, okay, this is happening a lot faster than I was expecting. It's been probably not even 5 minutes, and the coils are probably more than double their thickness already. The silver is coming out of solution quick. There must be a lot of silver there. That must be pretty darn concentrated, I'm thinking. And it is just covered. I don't know how well they're showing up on the video, but it is just covered with super shiny little silver crystals that are reflecting the light in there. Okay. Going good. Going good. I'm not even sure I needed the time lapse, but we'll see what it looks like. it's been a couple of hours, and wow, that's a lot of silver on there. I hope we got a good time lapse of it. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to knock the silver off of the coil, and I'm going to stash this liquid in the fume hood for a day or two, just to make sure that all the silver has come out of solution. And down here on the bottom, because this initial quick reaction probably didn't get all of it, and now the copper's exposed again, so we may get some more coming out of solution slowly over the next day or two. And then when it looks like the reaction is done, I will pull the copper out and we will clean up this silver and weigh it and see how much we've got. So stay tuned for that. I'm really interested to see how much silver we got out of these tantalum capacitors this time. Alrighty, so this has been sitting around, believe it or not, for about 4 days because I've just been so busy with work and getting home so late in the afternoon. I just haven't had time to do anything with it. Haven't got much more silver accumulated. What little bit was on there, you can see it kind of coming off the copper. What little bit of it had accumulated, I think I caused a fall off just moving it out of the fume hood. But get most of the silver off the copper. Boy, it always comes out such nice, shiny looking copper. And that'll last about a day or two before it all tarnishes. But there we are. Yeah, got some on the workbench. Oh well. Most of our silver's down here in the bottom of the beaker. So I'm going to let that settle, and then I'm going to pour off this liquid, which, by the way, has gotten bluer, less yellow. That's because some of this copper went in solution as the silver came out. So we've actually got more copper nitrate in here than before. So we're more blue and less yellow and less green that way. So, okay. So while we're waiting for this to settle, I will say that part one of this series came out, and there have been a whole lot of great comments on it. You guys seem to like that video. A lot of views. Thank you for watching it. And a lot of great comments and suggestions. I really appreciate it. A couple of people suggested I should use hydrochloric acid up front instead of nitric acid to dissolve away the iron. And, well, that's not a bad idea. I might try that on the next batch I do, because I've done less than half of them, so I've got a bunch more to do. So initially, we might try some hydrochloric acid and see how that does, getting rid of the iron out of here. At least it won't produce all that nasty fine iron oxide, super fine rust that we got. So that should keep things a little clean. Let's see, what else? Other comments and suggestions. A couple people said use magnets, just pull the iron out. Yeah, but I'm afraid that the iron is plated over silver, and the silver is going to come with it. So, yeah, I mean, we're after the silver. I think we just got to chew up the iron, and bite the bullet and chew up the iron to get the silver. I really do. I don't think there's a good way around that, pulling it out with a magnet. I think we're going to pull a lot of silver out, too. Several people said, sell the tantalum, keep the tantalum. Tantalum is more valuable than the silver. Well, no. By the ounce wise, by the gram wise, silver is a lot more valuable than tantalum. On the other hand, there is more tantalum in those capacitors than there is silver. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, value wise. The problem is there's a market for small amounts of silver. There's not a market for small amounts of tantalum. So I'm going to keep the tantalum. I kept the tantalum from the last time I did these capacitors. I'll keep the tantalum from the next time I do them. And maybe eventually I'll have enough to make it worth somebody's while to buy it from me. But I think nobody's going to want, just, a couple hundred grams of dirty tantalum. Probably not. Not for anything like spot price, okay? So there's that. So, okay, once all that fine silver that I shook off of the coil settles, I'm going to decant off, or maybe siphon off, the blue liquid here. That will go into my waste bucket where I keep iron, and we'll get the copper back as cement copper on the iron. I will give the silver in the bottom of this a couple of boils in distilled water, at least a couple, maybe 3, 4, until I think I've got all of the blue stuff out of it. And then we'll dry it out and weigh it and see how much silver we've got there. Okay, there's all the silver I got after giving it some cleanup boils. It's drying out slowly over low heat, and once it's good and dry, I'll get a weight on it. Looks like a whole lot. I got a feeling once it dries out, it's not going to look quite so much. It's really fluffy when it's wet, but it's not so much when it's dry. But still, hopefully we got a good weight of silver there. We will find out. So, be back when it's dry. Alrighty, it's finally time to weigh up this stuff. And, well, the silver didn't shrivel up as much as I thought it would when it dried out. So you got a fair amount of silver here. So I don't think I have a big enough weigh boat for all this silver, so we'll try this, and hopefully I won't spread it all over the place as I get it out here. Oh my goodness. I might have to weigh this in a couple of increments. This is a lot of silver. Even though it's not a lot of weight, it's a lot of volume. It's pretty fine. Okay. I don't know if I want to put much more than that in there. So that's 6.09 grams. I'll write that down so I don't forget it. And I'll put this in my dirty silver repository. This jar contains silver that's been brought out using cementation on copper, just like this stuff. I don't consider that to be really clean silver yet. I will sometimes clean up silver with acid boils. Give it a good boil in hydrochloric or sulfuric acid, and I'll tell you what, it really cleans the silver up. It starts looking a whole lot nicer. It melts a lot nicer. You get a much better looking ingot. But of course, an electrolytic silver cell is the gold standard. And I might just have to build myself one of those one day. So I've probably got, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, I haven't weighed it lately, ounces of acid washed silver. Just sitting around waiting to do something with it. All right, so 7.05 and 6.09. $13.14 grams. That is not too shabby from the amount of tantalum capacitors I did. Give me a second here and we'll do a little math and figure it out. Get that safely put away. And we had 1,462 grams of tantalum capacitors. So 13.14 divided by 1462 equals, well, so just about 0.9% silver by weight on those tantalum capacitors. So that's not too shabby. And I got a whole bunch more I can process. And like I said earlier, with the ideas I've had during this process to make things will go easier, and with the suggestions and comments you guys had to make it go easier, I think the next batch will go a lot easier. And I'll get started on that pretty soon. Yeah, I got some other projects cooking right now, but sooner or later I got to do the rest of those tantalum capacitors. So watch for that. Watch for all the other videos in the future. And if you guys found this series on getting silver from tantalum capacitors at all interesting, educational, informative, inspirational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Bye.